We made a lot of progress. Now let's fine tune some smaller things, or one smaller thing which I noticed or which we still have outstanding, and that is in the end when we load our list of places here. So when the place list component gets rendered, you might remember that there we also have this share place button which we show if we find no places. We can simulate this if I temporarily comment out the 2 places we added here, 2 dummy places. If I save that and I go to my places here, that button. I want to fine tune this. I want to use my own custom button here. So let's import button from, and then let's move to shared components, form elements button to use our custom button. We used a lot throughout this app already. Whoops, that was the wrong component though. Let's do that in the place list component, of course. That is where we need the button. And in there, let's replace this button here with our custom button. Now there, I also want to add a toProp now, because the button is configured to work with such a toProp and then renders a link in the end. And of course here I want to point at places/new, so that we have a proper button there. This looks way better, and we're taken to add places when we click it. Now with that, I also want to test something else. Let's go back to user places and comment these places back in. And there, let's make sure that when we added a place, right, the URL is place p1, for example. If I use p2, we load that other place. And to see that we really loaded a different place, here I'll name this emp.statebuilding so that we have a tiny difference. And now when this reloads here, of course, I need to rename it in update place as well, because I just copied my array and did not export it. So let's replace this in update place.js as well, so that we have different places in the end. And indeed, it loads that different place now. If I load p1, we should see Empire State Building. And if we load p3, we get an error. So good that we tested this. We should fix this as well. And the error we're getting is here in update place that I call set form data, and identified place title is what I want to access. The problem is if we find no identified place, this is undefined, and you can't access properties like title and description on undefined. So we should actually check here in useEffect if we do have an identified place. So if this is not undefined, and only if we do have it, I will call set form data. I will always call set is loading thereafter and set this back to false, but I want to only set form data if identified place is not undefined. So with that, now we see could not find place if we have an invalid place, but we don't get an error. And we can also make this could not find place thing a little bit more pretty by simply importing card from shared components UI elements card. So the good old card we used before, and then wrap this in a card. So down there where I render could not find place, how about wrapping this here into a card? Let's see how that looks like. If we do that, yeah, I think that looks a bit nicer. With that, we made some changes which I found quite important to make. Now we have a nice flow here where we can edit a place, where we can view it on a map, of course, where we can also add a new place. Of course, all not really doing something because the backend is missing, but the general functionality is there. And once we do add a backend, we can then connect React to it, send requests, handle loading states, and of course then also send our data and get our data from the backend. Now the one missing thing I want to add now is the delete button. It still won't work because, again, we're not talking to a backend yet, but at least I want to make it do something. And on authenticate, I actually want to go to a separate page where we can enter some credentials, where we also have a form therefore, so that this is also already prepared for later when we then will add real authentication. Now let's start with deleting though.